Father, March 2021, the Pope comes to Najaf to visit Ayatollah Sistani. Tell us more.
Well, the Pope's trip to Iraq has a number of facets to it. Firstly, primarily in a sense, he's going to visit the Iraqi people as a whole, both Christian and Muslim, but with a special emphasis, obviously, on the Christian communities of whom he is the shepherd. But to the country as a whole, which has come through so much trauma, so much violence, he is going, as he himself said, as a pilgrim, not as a head of state, to be with people and to share something of their sufferings and their sorrows. That's the first level or facet. Added to that, he is going to go to cities like Mosul, which have a special significance. He's going to attempt to trace some of the footsteps of Abraham. And he's going to go to Najaf. And there in Najaf, you have these three distinct but interweaving institutions. You have the Hawza, and resting on the Hawza, the spirit of Atusi. You have the presence of Grand Ayatollah Sistani, and you have the tomb of Ali. And those three, for want of a better word, institutions are the things that make Najaf Najaf, so that when the Pope goes to Najaf, he is going to those three things. Even if he doesn't physically go to the tomb of Ali, even if he doesn't necessarily go to visit the Hawza itself, he is coming to the city which is inseparable from those three things. So it's a multi-level visit, not as a politician or a head of state, but as a religious pilgrim and a man of faith going to visit people of faith, and in particular a very important man of faith who is known in the world and has a popular following.
Would you argue that the Pope was surprised at the humble surroundings of Ayatollah Sistani? Maybe in contrast to the Vatican and what we've always seen of the Vatican from the outside, and then he visits Ayatollah Sistani. What do you think his reaction was when he saw this?
We know that the Pope, coming back on the plane, spoke at length to journalists and said a number of things. Now, this is quite an important issue because there was a moment in social media when the Pope and Sistani would be compared as the one lives in a palace and the one lives in a humble situation. And that's not really an accurate reflection, because the difference between them is the Pope is also a head of state. And he lives in the situation that any head of state lives in. In fact, the Pope lives in a smaller space in Rome than I do. I've got a larger set of rooms than he has. He shares a hotel with a large group of people. Notwithstanding that, there is no doubt that the humility, the surroundings in which the Ayatollah lives, considering who he is, his status, his wisdom, his life of prayer and faith, are extraordinary for most of us. To see a man of such status living in such a condition of humility and simplicity cannot but impress. The Pope himself remarked on this and said, I have met a man of faith, a man of humility, and a man of God.
Why now? Why the meeting in 2021? From the perspective of the Pope in particular, why do you think he felt it was high time that he met the grand jurists in the Shia world? And could this possibly be the springboard for future Shia Catholic dialogue?
I would say that there are probably two reasons why the Pope went to Iraq right now. Firstly, he was attempting to enclose in his embrace the whole Islamic world. 2 years ago, he met with the Sheikh of Al-Azhar. They signed a document together about human fraternity. And in a sense, he was meeting in that one person with the whole Sunni world. This was his chance to show that he understands that Islam is a bigger world than that, and that he needed to embrace the whole Islamic family. So that was the first thing. This was the closing of the embrace by the Pope, who is embracing the Islamic world as a brother in faith. And we know about that concept that we hear from Ali, for example, about a brother in faith. But there's a second element, and that is that the Iraqis have been treated like dirt by so many nations. The Pope is saying to them, you are an important part of the world community, and you are no less important than any other country. And I'm coming to you because I need you to know that I am with you in this. I may not be able to lift your sufferings or stop them or intervene politically, but I need you to know that my presence here is to tell you how important you are compared to what other narratives may be saying. So it's a double reason for that. He meets, of course, with al-Sistani because he understands, and he's been prepped quite clearly, that who he is and how many people follow him. Millions of people throughout the world listen to him, are taught by him, take faith from him. So he understands quite clearly that this is the man to meet. Even if he may not be able to have as great an influence as the Pope might hope, that's not the issue. The issue is two men of faith meeting is in itself a symbolic gesture for the world of two men with different worldviews, but who are reading from the same page when it comes to peace, when it comes to justice, when it comes to religious freedom. And I think that's very important.
Do you think many people knew that when ISIS had executed some members of the Christian community in Mosul, had destroyed some churches in Mosul? Do you think many people knew that Ayatollah Sistani was one of the first to say you protect any Iraqi, irrespective of their religious background?
Absolutely not, because the narratives around ISIS were the narratives that Western media decided to pursue, and they were almost all of them wrong and one-sided and biased, and they were not willing at any stage to recognize who exactly was combating ISIS. Who was it who was going in? Who were giving their lives against the ISIS forces? It was not a popular narrative with the Western media, and therefore they ignored it. The real issue for me, the problem with al-Sistani, is that he is seen by some in the West as the good Muslim. He's the one we can talk to. And that diminishes his holiness, his learning, his wisdom. He's not just the good Muslim, and he's not a pawn in anybody's game. And I hope that the one thing this visit may have done was to open the eyes of people that there's a great deal more to al-Sistani than just, the Americans hoping that he'll be their friend, that he is genuinely a peacemaker, that he genuinely has stepped in and built bridges between people in very short spaces of time, in moments of great emergency, that he's genuinely spoken for the Christian and other minorities, not just as a soundbite, but because he truly, authentically believes that this is the right thing to do. And it would be good to see the media printing that narrative, not just the popular narrative, which is that Islam is a problem.